Okay, so we're putting our bed knife back on our ground reel. We ground our bed knife, and now it's time to get everything put back together. All right, hello, my name is Hector Velazquez, and welcome to another episode of GCSAA Inside the Shop. We're getting ready to get our reel set up and ready to put back into action. And today we're going to go through the steps that I take to make sure that my cutting unit is at its peak. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here's some of the tools that we're going to need for this project. We're going to need a height of cut gauge bar, some cut paper, feeler gauge, preferably 1/1000 of an inch, and then the wrench for your particular unit. Okay, if you notice, I got my reel situated on the Reel CU workstation. Not only does it give me 360 access to all the fasteners and adjustments on the unit, but now it's in a position as if it's sitting on turf. Pressure on the rollers, and the gravity is pushing down on the reel, just where it's going to be, which makes it the ideal position to set up our cutting unit. It's going to make it more accurate and more consistent throughout. Okay, the first thing we need to do is make our reel to bed knife adjustment, and that's where the feeler gauge comes into play. All right, now our adjustments are going to be made in between the two end spiders, right in the middle, on this side and likewise on the other end of the reel. Now let me find my adjustment knob here. All right, now when you engage the feeler gauge, you want to make sure your feeler gauge is parallel to the top face of that bed knife. You don't want to come in crooked like this. You're going to get a false reading. You want to make sure it's nice and flat in between the reel and bed knife. Now you can move that feeler gauge back and forth as you're making your adjustment until you get a nice slight drag. Now you want to make sure that you're getting the same drag on both ends of the reel. And this manner will know that that bed knife is completely parallel to the reel. All right, now we're going to get some cut paper and we're going to check our quality of cut. And then between the last two spiders, we're going to check cut, and there we are. 99% of the time, you don't really have to make any adjustments after that 1/1000 inch feeler gauge. But if you do, you want to make sure you're doing the same thing on both ends. We're going to check it over here as well, and we're looking really good. Now it's time to set our height of cut. We're going to grab our gauge. Now this here is a height of cut gauge. It's a bar. It has an analog reader. They come in digital as well. Now this particular gauge comes with these two pegs up here. And what I like about these pegs is not only do they hold my gauge nice and square to the front face of that bed knife, but it also protects that stem on the gauge. Now the stem is what's going to be reading the height of cut. And as you can see how it's engaging on the very top edge of the bed knife, that's what we're looking for. Another important feature about this gauge is that the reading surface here has a true flatness of 1/1000 of an inch. So we're going to get a pretty true reading. All right, we're about done with this project. We're going to install a height of cut gauge. We're going to take our reading, and then we're going to make our adjustments. We're going to go back and forth from either side of the reel until we reach our desired height of cut, and then we're set. All right, there it is. Our cutting unit is ready to go back out for service. I want to thank you for joining me here today on GCSAA Inside the Shop, where we're helping technicians one wrench at a time.